Could the West be unwittingly playing into the hands of Hamas? Recent declarations by France, Canada, and the UK could add up to a win for terror. Jonathan Tobin from the Jewish News Syndicate talks about the rise of international support for a Palestinian state with CBN's Gary Lane. Take a look.
Britain has joined France in demanding that Israel end its war in Gaza. If not, the two European powers say they will recognize a Palestinian state in September. At the same time, the European Union and Arab League have condemned Hamas for the October 7, 2023 terrorist massacre in Israel. And they say the group needs to release all hostages and end its rule in Gaza. Well, here are some insights as Jewish News Syndicate editor-in-chief Jonathan Tobin. Jonathan, what's driving this decision by France and now Great Britain to support a Palestinian state if Israel doesn't stop fighting in Gaza?
I think it's in part a reaction to domestic politics in those countries where, the hard left and Islamists have formed this bizarre red-green alliance, and they're a real factor in those countries' political equations. And they're reacting also in part to this tsunami of propaganda about starvation in Gaza, which is created by Hamas. Not to say that there isn't suffering in Gaza, which of course there is, but it's of Hamas's creation. They have, there's no shortage of food, but the food isn't being distributed because Hamas hoards it, steals it, sells it back to people at exorbitant prices. That's what's driving the problem.
And there's been a Palestinian state there for 20 years. It's called Gaza, and this is the result of it.
The Hamas state in Gaza was an independent Palestinian state in all but name from 2005 to 2023. If it does, and we saw what happened. It was a terror state. It was only interested in conquering Israel, killing people. They had no interest in developing things for their own people.
So why do you think Hamas is continuing this fight, Jonathan, with both the EU and the Arab League now calling on them to surrender? Hamas must know that they're never going to be victorious and allowed to return to governing Gaza.
Well, they think they can win. They think they're going to win. That's why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, you can say it sounds illogical. They could never beat Israel, and that's true. But they have always calculated, even, on October 7th, when they achieved complete surprise, their calculations have always been based on the idea that the West will turn on Israel and that cut it off, isolate it, and ultimately hand it to them on a silver platter. That's what they're doing. They look at what's gone on in the streets of American and European cities with mobs chanting for Israel's destruction. They see these diplomatic efforts, with recognitions of a Palestinian state which is a reward for terrorism. And they say, look, we're winning. Yes, we couldn't beat the Israelis militarily, but we're beating them politically. And everyone who demands a ceasefire is just encouraging Hamas to hold on and to emerge, and because they believe a ceasefire will let them emerge triumphant from this war, that it will allow them to regain control of Gaza. They think that this is all in the cards for them. It doesn't have to be, and indeed, if Israel sticks to its guns, it won't be. But their ambitions are not unreasonable given the support they've been getting from the West. And that's why it's so dangerous.
Well, for now, it appears the IDF will press on until the hostages are released and Hamas is destroyed. So what do you see happening in the coming days as the second anniversary of the October 7th terrorist massacre approaches?
Well, the war is this is a very difficult situation. Prime Minister Netanyahu, don't envy his dilemma. The war is difficult. The foreign pressure is enormous. The pressure from inside Israel for people who want the hostages released. And, the war is exhausting. It's been a long, hard slog. So I think the war just continues, which is dreadful for the Palestinians in Gaza. It's dreadful for Israelis. But the choice is whether you're going to have that or let Hamas win. And Netanyahu knows he cannot let Hamas win, lest Israel be faced with future October 7th and more horror for both sides.
And finally, here domestically, we saw Columbia University agree to a $200 million settlement concerning the civil rights of Jews during pro-Hamas demonstrations on campus. Also, UCLA has settled a $6 million lawsuit with Jewish students. And now it looks like Harvard is reportedly preparing to agree to a settlement, maybe as much as $500 million because of its failure to protect its students from anti-Semitism. So 2 questions here. Do you think these settlements would have happened without President Trump's advocacy? And what's to prevent these universities from ignoring violations of Jewish student civil rights in the future?
Well, first, this wouldn't have happened without President Trump being reelected last November. Biden, another 4 years of the Democrats, of Kamala Harris, would have been the opposite. They were supporting these universities. These deals are not as ideal as his initial demands, but they're still tremendous progress. I mean, this is really the beginning of rolling back the reign of DEI and the woke domination and indoctrination in our education system. It's good for the Jews, for sure, because that's the Jews are the canaries in the coal mine here. This is good for all Americans. Now, how will it be in the future? Well, it's all a matter of enforcement. These deals are great. They're victories no matter what. This is something for Trump to be proud of. But it will be a matter of whether the United States government continues to monitor it, continues to enforce it.
Okay, Jonathan Tobin, JNS Editor-in-Chief. Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate you sharing your time and insights.
Thank you.
When we come back, an Iranian shopkeeper in Jerusalem keeping his father's legacy alive.
Well, before you leave, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Also, we would love to hear how the Lord is moving and touching your heart right now. So be sure to comment below and then share this video with someone you feel needs it just as much as you did.